introduce yourself and start at the very beginning, what year it was that you got into veganism and how you got into it and then how it unfolded.
Okay. My name's Christine. I am Icelandic. I'm 24 years old, and I started veganism at the end of summer of 2013 when I was 18. I got into vegetarianism at first at that time. What started it was I saw a video on Facebook. I wasn't watching YouTube at the time. And the Facebook video, I think it was PETA, and I don't know if I had liked PETA or whatever, but it came up on my feed. It was a traumatizing video of pigs being slaughtered, and it was so brutal, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It was probably from the middle of America, somewhere, factory farming.
Mm-hmm.
And I come from the northern part of Iceland, or at least I used to live there for quite a while, where we would have our own sheep. We had, for a time period, chickens, and we were in a fisherman's village, so we had fresh fish. We ate fish every single day of the week, and lamb every weekend. And so I had not made the connection of meat being super cruel ever. And I helped with my family to take apart um, the meat and grind it up and freeze it, and we made our own like liver pate and everything. So I decided to go vegetarian in 2013, and I was living with my friend at the time, and we were trying it together. So we started to eat a bunch of chia seeds. I made like chia pudding with just water and chia seeds. It was absolutely disgusting, but I heard that's what fills you up and gives you like a lot of nutrients. And I had never thought about nutrients before because I never had to. So
Mm.
I was constantly thinking about nutrients and what I should eat. So I just went through like the supermarket, found like the chia seeds and ashwagandha powder and chlorella and um, fruit, these like fruit bottled up things. Started to drink a bunch of that, like 3 or 4 a day for energy. At the time, like I said, I was 18, so we would go out drinking on the weekends and um, just eat whatever, you know. I was a teenager, and so we both noticed when we were going out, we were going to the bathroom like all the time. As soon as I like entered the pub or whatever, I had to go directly to the bathroom and take a shit, which I wasn't used to taking like 3 or 4 times a shit 3 or 4 times a day.
Mm.
Anyway, after that, I kept with the vegetarianism, and started liking stuff on Facebook. You know, some like truth theory stuff, all this propaganda. I believed everything that I saw on my feed. So I believe, you know, there's these like pictures where they compare the eye and the inside of a carrot for vitamin A. And it's like, whoa, that's amazing. Everything is connected. And I was like, we're all one. Got into crystals, got into like all this Indian stuff, got into yoga, became fascinated with it. And I believed that we had been wrong with how we were eating for such a long time. And I moved back home for a little while, for about a year. So I went back to the north. I was living in the capital before. I went back to the north and was living with my family on my mother's side. And that's where I noticed in contrast that I was becoming, you know, or I didn't quite notice. Now that I look back on it, I see that I was mentally unstable because I would be crying when I saw the things that I had seen before in my youth. When people were eating meat in front of me, I would cry. I would be like severely disgusted with the idea of consuming meat, and I would call the people that were living close to us serial killers because they were fishermen, because they had a milk farm, or because of the egg farm that we were running. I would call my mom a serial killer, or yeah. And she wasn't having it. She was like, "You need to stop it. You do you even hear yourself?" And I just felt so isolated and alone because my friend wasn't with me anymore, and I was in in a no, there were no vegans or vegetarians around me there. Of course, there's no vegan food, and I was working in the supermarket, and everyone would just be like, "What do you even eat?" I'm like, "Oh, I eat muesli and almond milk." I decided I wanted to lose some weight, so I did the master cleanse. That was my first adventure into cleansing, and I became addicted to it after that. So I did the master cleanse for 2 weeks. That's where you drink maple syrup and no, lemon juice and cayenne pepper. And the weight came off, of course. I was starving myself, and I decided when I was doing this cleanse that I would become pure. I would stop drinking alcohol. I would stop smoking, and I would stop eating all processed food and be a vegan again. So I indoctrinated myself, kind of. I decided to watch um, all the documentaries because I wanted the veganism to stick. So I watched the health documentaries most of all. I couldn't get myself to watch the Earthlings, or I just started crying immediately, so I just had to turn it off. Traumatizing, of course. So after the master cleanse, I just tried being a normal vegan, and that's where my first health issue came up. So I got my period, which I didn't get for some time after the master cleanse. This is the first and only time I ever lost my period. But it came back, and it was excruciatingly painful. It was the most intense pain that I've ever felt, and it was like a shock to me, of course. So I was crawling on the floor, crying. I thought I was dying, and I didn't know what was going on. I looked online, and obviously everything that comes up that you were dirty and you need to cleanse yourself some more. So I tried raw veganism. Um, I was with my current partner at the time, and he had been raw vegan before to lose a lot of weight. And he suggested that we try it because he wanted to like get in check too with his health. He had been eating peanut butter, and we'd been eating some dates and maybe noodles and stuff like that. So we wanted to be really pure. This was winter in Iceland, right after New Year's, so 2015. And being a raw vegan in Iceland in winter, it's ridiculous. So we were putting olive oil over our raw cauliflower, and we were obsessively organic as well. So everything was so expensive. All of our money went away for food. I couldn't buy anything else. I didn't take any supplements at the time, but it comes in a bit later. Then around spring, we were sick of being raw vegan. We were starving, and my stomach started to hurt a little bit. So that's when I started to watch a lot of YouTube, and I came across Raw 4 again, and that's right around the time that really was really popular. So she was everywhere. Like I think she just came up on my feed. I didn't even have to look it up, and um, we decided to try Raw 4, and we We got like so many bananas, everything organic. We even tried to contact the the distributors or the ones who were importing the bananas to Iceland to try to get them to sell it to us for a wholesale price, and so that we would always have like a steady flow of ripened bananas, because we'd have to go to the supermarket with a bus and try to get all this fruit. It was ridiculous. So I ate some rice in the evening, bananas and dates during the day, and then my mouth started to smell. And my boyfriend was like, why does your mouth smell like it smells? It smells rotten. What's going on? You need to go to the dentist. Something's up." I went to the dentist and I had 17 cavities.
Wow.
I've seen a lot of these ex-vegan videos, and they all talk about, I got a rotten tooth, one tooth, or they talk about 4 cavities. I had 17 cavities, and all my wisdom teeth came up rotten. I had to have them all removed, the 4 wisdom teeth, and then the very back tooth as well. It was completely rotten, and it had to be removed. This cost me a lot of money. It was extremely painful. This was so many trips to the dentist. It was all I could think about, and I was consumed by it. I was obsessed with it. I became obsessed with my teeth, and I became obsessed with my health as it was starting to deteriorate. I became even more obsessed with trying to cleanse and trying to become the healthiest version of myself. And I blamed antibiotics for my teeth decaying, because I took some antibiotics in, I think, 2010, because I got pneumonia, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I blamed some antibiotics I took in 2010 for ruining my teeth in 2015, because I was eating dates all day. And I asked my dentist, is it the dates? Like, I'm eating like 20, 30 dates a day, and I eat bananas, and I eat rice. And she was like, no, I don't think so. I just think you need to, make sure you brush them. And so the idea that some sugar going onto my teeth was rotting them, and not something that was happening inside my body. So I was obsessively brushing and flossing and everything. Anyway, it took me about 1.5 years to get it all fixed. I didn't have the money to do it all in once. And as I was going in the 1.5 years, more teeth were decaying. So we would be consistently taking photos of my teeth, and they would still not be okay. And I changed my diet a little bit. I became a normal vegan, and a little bit junk food vegan. So I was eating Oreos, which obviously aren't even vegan, and burritos. I was still into crystals and all this spiritual voodoo shit, where I believed that my emotions were what was causing my health issues. I believed I had a lot of like suppressed trauma, and obviously it was really getting to my mental health. Yeah, I became extremely fatigued. I was trying to do CrossFit on a on and off raw to 4 diet. I got no protein. I got no fat. And in the beginning stages of the CrossFit, we were in like a beginner's program where they were talking about the paleo diet and how we should eat a lot of meat, and we should eat a lot of eggs, cut out dairy, and cut out all grains. And I was like standing like this when they were doing the lecture, thinking, these fucking idiots think I think I'm gonna eat meat in order to be healthy. I'm gonna die if I eat meat. I believed it. I really, really was convinced. And there I was, like a pale not fit at all person standing around all these like beefed up men and women telling me to eat meat, and I didn't put two and two together. They're obviously really fit and healthy. Maybe I should listen to them, but no. Um, at the time, I was living with my dad, and my dad's a big meat eater. He likes weightlifting, and before I went vegetarian, him and I used to be a lot alike. We had the same kind of attitude, the same kind of I don't give a shit attitude, um, triggering people, making fun of, society, how people are over triggered. He really likes to make fun of that. And then I became the exact opposite of him by being vegan. And I became the exact kind of person that he would make fun of. So he would constantly be posting on Facebook like some vegan jokes about how vegans are pussies and how vegans are weak. And I became extremely triggered by it, of course. And this made a kind of a funny dynamic between us. And so he would ask me one time to help doing the dishes because I was living with them, but I never ate dinner with them, and that's kind of strange. At least for Iceland, you eat dinner with your family. It's a get together at the end of the day. But I would always be in my room eating my rice, and they would be at the dinner table eating their meat. Not because I wasn't welcome, but because I was disgusted with the food that they were eating. And he asked me to come out of my room and help them to clean up after dinner. And they had been eating pasta with a beef sauce, so spaghetti and minced meat. And I started to become really defensive, and I started crying. And I said to him, "You don't realize that I am actually disgusted by the food that you're eating." And he was just like, "What the fuck is wrong with her?" And he became like kind of closed off to me. I became closed off to him. And then one time he said that I should probably go to a doctor because I didn't look so good. And this thing with my period was still consistent. And I was living with them every single month. I had these issues. And they were worried. And I said, "Why don't you go to a doctor? You probably have deficiencies too." And he's like, "I don't have to because I don't feel like shit. And you obviously feel like shit and you look like shit. And you should get checked." And I said, "You don't know this, but potatoes actually have everything that a human body needs. And you're sitting here eating beef, and I'm eating potatoes, which are way cheaper and way more nutritious, and they're not going to give me cancer." And he's like, "You go now and check the nutrient profile of beef, and you will see that it has nutrients that you cannot get." And I went into my room. I looked up on Chronometer. I put in potatoes and I put in beef, and I saw that beef has some nutrients that were not in potatoes. And what I did was I closed the window and I closed my computer, and I never talked about nutrition with my dad again. And it didn't change my mind about veganism, of course. So when you're vegan and these experts tell you stuff that or you can look up a nutrition profile of something, and it doesn't comply with your beliefs, it just makes you more defensive. And it just makes you believe that everyone's an idiot except you. At least that's how I felt. And I started to get this kind of like God complex thing, which a lot of vegans have talked about, where I believed that I was better than everyone else. I believed that everyone was an idiot. But I went and got checked because I had some worries about my menstruation. So I went to this naturopath because I didn't believe in real doctors, of course. Idiot. because they would tell me that I'm deficient. And in Iceland, they're not recommending a plant-based diet. They recommend meat and eggs. So I went to a naturopath thinking that she would be more vegetarian friendly. And she told me that my body was heavily acidic. I don't know. She said that my muscles looked acidic or something. She did like a complete like blood test and muscles, something and bone. It was like weird technology I've never seen before. And she told me you can't eat all these bananas and think that you're going to be healthy. And she said, I don't have anything against veganism, but at least you're not doing it right. And so she told me about all these supplements I should take, and I did. I bought a lot of supplements. She said I wasn't getting like L-carnitine or something, and that I should take that, and some kind of like amino acids in the powder form. So I did. It didn't help. I didn't feel any different. I was in an Ashtanga yoga class where I was in a sort of a bind where you put your shoulder in front of your knee and bind your hands behind your back. So my hip was in flexion and it popped. It hurt a lot. This was 2017, like I said. My skin had started to turn kind of gray. I got really, really like thick bags under my eyes. My hip wasn't healing. So no matter what I did, I stopped doing yoga, I stopped lifting, I really tried to, relax and let it heal, but it just wouldn't heal. So at this time, I'd had this pain for like 1.5 years, I guess. In Costa Rica, we started to eat unlimited fruits and vegetables. We became like completely purist, and I got the conclusion that all my health problems were because of parasites. I did every single natural parasite cleanse I could find online. I did flax seeds ground up with ground up cloves, whole cloves. Took that every morning in water. I did honey and garlic to try to kill everything in my gut. I did where you eat a pound of shredded coconut and eat nothing else, and then just drink water and try to have that rip your the parasites that are holding on to your intestinal wall. Yeah. I started to take a lot of Ayurvedic herbs, amalaki, ashwagandha, some shadvari shit, to try to clean my intestinal wall. Um, I think it was just fiber stuck everywhere inside me because I was eating nothing but fiber. I remember the winter 2018, I went with my grandmother to buy a dress for me, and I was in an extra small, and I have never been an extra small before, and that's not a normal size for me because I used to have a muscular like body and being you know, with muscle definition, but now I was just skinny, and I didn't have a lot of fat to lose beforehand anyway, so I only lost muscle. My hands became like twigs, and I got this big head look that I'd never had before, where my shoulders were narrow and small, and my head was kind of like big sitting on my body. But I looked at myself in that extra small dress, and I was like, wow, I don't even notice my hips going there anymore. And this is where my deterioration went to the max. So my paranoia was still there. I always thought someone was like gonna come around the corner and rape me or attack me or beat me up. I was eating a rice cracker. We were chilling in the park. It was this fall, and I broke my tooth eating a rice cracker.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? This isn't even hard to eat. and my tooth broke in half, and underneath I saw it was black, so it was rotting from the inside. That's really where I started to think, okay, there's something really, really wrong here. I wanted to become fit again. I had lost all my muscle. I was skin and bones basically. My my facial skin was starting to like sag, and I had this weird complexion. It was gray and red, and I was in the sunshine all the time, and I wouldn't become tan. I read this book. It's called Eat Fat, Get Thin. And not that I wanted to get thin. This book was a part of a program I was doing. I read it and I thought, okay, I'm going to try to be a high fat vegan and try to get my omega 3s. I had never thought about omega 3s before. I knew nothing about nutrition. And yet, before I had been preaching to people about nutrition and how they knew nothing about nutrition.
Hmm.
I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about nutrition. I was just parroting what YouTubers were saying. Drink this and you can totally cleanse in the morning. I was repeating this to my mom. She believed me. It was ridiculous. We adopted a dog in Portugal, and he had been in a shelter. And the adoption process, we had to take him to the vet, and the vet examined his teeth, and his teeth were rotten. And she said, "Oh yeah, that's because he's been fed grain diet because that's the cheap dog food that they get." So, so she said that. I thought maybe it wasn't the antibiotics that ruined my teeth. The antibiotics I took in 2010. Maybe it was the grains and the lack of nutrients. I ate one egg, and that was about a month and a week ago. So 5 weeks ago, we were still in Portugal. We both decided to do it. Right before I ate it, I broke down and started crying, and I said to my partner, I don't believe in a vegan diet anymore. What if that's the reason I'm sick? What if everything that I've been doing and everything I believed in was wrong? And he said, I love you, whatever you do. I don't love you because you're vegan. And he had actually been craving eggs for a while, and I always dismissed it. I was like, and I'm poisoning yourself. Crazy. I felt great, and the morning after, I woke up with this kind of lightness in my head. I was like, wow, I'm not vegan anymore. And I felt like a new person, and I felt like I was less in my head. Like this huge relief mentally. And so I started to watch ex-vegan videos on YouTube instead of always watching the vegan propaganda on YouTube. This one egg became 2 eggs a day, 3 eggs a day. I was up to like 7 or 8 eggs a day. And I thought I shouldn't be eating only eggs. I'll try fish. I tried some fish and I felt amazing. I ate this tiny piece of salmon and I felt amazing when I was eating it. I felt amazing right after. I felt amazing the day after. I was binging on your channel when we were driving back, and I saw your vegan epitome of malnutrition videos, and I was sitting there in my RV bed in the dark in some gas station in France, spending my last 3G like roaming on my phone and my last battery to watch that video in the dark, and I was just like with that music and with the how you're zooming into the eyes of these people and their teeth and everything. I was just like, what the fuck have I been doing? And this fire lit up inside me of wanting to know more and eventually wanting to take down veganism because it ruined my life for about 5 years.
Hmm.
Maybe I didn't convey it enough in this video how absolutely horrible I felt when I was vegan. And never did it cross my mind that it was the veganism. And that's why it's so horrible. And I ate raw liver. I felt high after eating it.
Hmm.
And so my partner tried it too, and we were listening to music. And it felt like I was hearing music for the first time in so long. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And you don't see how horrible you felt until you tried to eat it, you know? And so when I was vegan and I would see ex-vegan stuff, I would just dismiss it immediately, thinking that it wasn't even possible to feel this good in your body. I had forgotten what it feels like to feel normal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What about those friends that you had in Iceland who were vegan? Are they still vegan? Do you have any contact?
So one of my really close friends, I sent her your New World Order diet video, and we were really into conspiracies when we were younger. So the Illuminati and everything that kind of unfolded with along with the veganism. So I connect veganism to a kind of conspiracy. That's how they disguise it. Like we've been wrong this whole time about meat,
Hmm.
and and I sent her the video, and she was like, "I'm fine, thanks. I don't wanna I don't wanna know." Kind of, I feel good. And then she sent me a message weeks later, like, "Thanks for opening my eyes." I
Uh-huh.
feel so much. Yeah.
Okay. How do you see the future of veganism now? Where do you think it's heading? This whole movement, or what do you see it as?
Um, I think veganism is an agenda, and it's not just what I think because it's a fact because these companies are promoting veganism or at least eating plant-based. You don't have to be vegan to support these companies. You just have to believe that you need to eat a lot of fiber and that you should eat cereal and that you should eat imported fruits and vegetables. That's how you're also supporting them. But I've always known that the government or the controllers, they don't have our best interest in mind. So obviously they're going to try to convince us that red meat and cholesterol is detrimental to our health when actually it's great and it can heal you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you regret veganism now, or do you just see it as an experience?
No, I regret it. Um, I spent hundreds of euros on supplements. I pushed my family away. I made a fool of myself being a vegan. Coming from my background of eating lamb and eating locally and eating antibiotic free and eating healthy and being a healthy person, I made an idiot of myself trying to convince people that they weren't healthy and that I was healthy when I wasn't. And um, I regret ruining my teeth. I regret losing all my muscle. I regret it aged my face and it made me really isolated. And all these years of going to events with my family, not eating, pretending to be okay, pretending that I wasn't hungry or that I ate right before. Um, it's it's an eating disorder as well. Maybe I'm thankful that I now see that it's beneficial to eat like raw dairy or some intestines. But Icelandic people have been eating the whole animal always, and it's kind of talked about as we only did it as a necessity, and I think that's wrong. So we've been convinced that we only ate the intestines and the blood and the products only for survival, and that we should be thankful that we have importation so that we can reap the benefits of fruits and veggies and grains, where actually it's ruining our health. And we should try to encourage people to eat locally and think about where their food actually comes from. Because when veganism or when vegans push their propaganda to try to get people to think about where their food comes from, like someone has to die for your food, people need to realize that there's death on both sides and that the environment is being destroyed for crops. And if you there's no factory farming in Iceland, for example. There's pasture raised cows, there's pasture raised sheep. They roam free, the sheep, in the spring and summer until fall. So that it's such nutrient dense food. Can you imagine? They roam free in the meadows, in the mountains. They drink spring water straight from the mountains, and it's the healthiest food you can eat. So eating pesticide-ridden celery from Spain is not going to help your health. Go to your local farmer, get some meat.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Very well said. Yeah, it's very important.
yeah.
Anything else you would like to add? Something special you experienced, or something you would like to say to vegans who are watching?
I already talked about my period and how horrible it was,
Hmm.
but I want to emphasize how from 2014, when I was 19, until now, when I'm 24, I had every single month this excruciating pain where I felt like I was going to die. I had to start taking pain medication, of course, right around the end now because I was giving up. And um, I had my menstruation now a week ago. The first time I had my meat eater menstruation in about 5 years or so. And I feel great. No pain, no vomiting, no fainting, no crying. And um, if I have a message to vegans, it would be to consider trying one egg. It can change a lot. And if you think that supplements are gonna benefit your health, you're so wrong because I tried taking an iron supplement, for example, for I think a half a year straight. I was still anemic, even though I was taking an iron supplement every single day. So it doesn't work.
Mm. It's not heme iron.
No,
No.
exactly.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.